Brooklyn Nets failed to win an NBA title in the first year together as the big three of Harden, Durant, and Kyrie Irving. Now they're in a scenario where there is no given that this group is going to win a title. These guys only have 1 year left together, guaranteed. Now, surely you can argue that they are likely to return, but we're going to talk about some of the scenarios that Brooklyn possibly could have moving forward that makes me worried about Brooklyn from an injury standpoint, from a potential depth standpoint, depending on how the summer goes, and as well as the fact that all of these guys, or some of Harden, Durant, and Kyrie, could all walk up and leave Brooklyn within the season. So that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. If you guys do go on to enjoy, be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Also, note that I am going to be doing a live stream tomorrow night during the draft, so if that is something you want to check out, then be sure to stay tuned for that. That being said, let's get right into talking about the Brooklyn Nets more immediately in this current offseason, and then a bit more forward down the road where this team could be headed into next offseason. And so here we are at the salary cap payroll table for the Brooklyn Nets for the next few years. And as you can see, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving all have player options for the 2022-23 season. Whether they opt in or opt out of those is not necessarily going to be indicative of whether they are going to re-sign, as they very well may opt out, sign up more term, and lock themselves up there for the next 3 or 4 years together in Brooklyn. But it also has to be a concern for Brooklyn that they are only guaranteed 1 more year with this group. For this season, none of their core 3 are going to be of concern. None of them are getting dealt. None of them are leaving. They're there, and Joe Harris is locked in for 3 years as well. But the first immediate concern for this team this season, moving into this summer, is that they have a lot of their depth that are going to be free agents. Now, a lot of them may come back, but a lot of it's going to be depending on the salary they want, what offer sheets get thrown in on someone like Bruce Brown, as well as just players' interest in wanting to come back, or Brooklyn's front office interest, or more so ownership, how much they want to go into the luxury tax. They already have $166 million committed in spending for next year. Now, Spencer Dinwiddie has opted out of his contract, and so that puts that number a bit closer to $154 million, but that is still significantly into the luxury tax. That is before Spencer Dinwiddie does potentially get re-signed by Brooklyn if they want to bring him back to be the 6th man for them next year. That is potentially before Jeff Green gets brought back, or Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, or Bruce Brown as an RFA, or Tyler Johnson, or Blake Griffin. Now, surely some of these guys will come back on minimum salaries like they did last year. But Jeff Green, you could argue, might demand closer to a mid-level exception. Luwawu-Cabarrot will have more interest than just the minimum salary from some teams. Bruce Brown, as a restricted free agent, is definitely going to receive a lot more than minimum salary type money than around what he got last year. He's going to get offers closer to $10 million, if not more, given the fact that he is just a hard-working defensive player that can just get the job done, and there's going to be some team that's willing to throw money into the pile. Tyler Johnson will get offers at a little bit more money. Blake Griffin will probably get offers that are a bit closer to $10 million as well. And so it really just is going to come down to whether these players are interested in coming back to Brooklyn, because otherwise Brooklyn's payroll, even without bringing back Spencer Dinwiddie, can easily climb up to 180, 185 million really quick. And if they do bring back Dinwiddie, then that number is going to soar over 200. And so there definitely has to be concerns here from Brooklyn about who the heck is going to be on their bench next year. Because as far as guys they have under contract for next year, Harden, Durant, Kyrie, Joe Harris, and then DeAndre Jordan, I guess, as of guys that are currently under contract, are probably your starters. So that leaves you Landry Shamet, Nicholas Claxton, and Alize Johnson as your backups. Johnson is probably not going to be coming off the bench. He's probably going to be a depth guy / two-way guy for them if they do bring him on a two-way, although he is now a non-two-way for the next 2 years, so more than likely he doesn't fall under that two-way category. But nonetheless, that only leaves them Shamet and Claxton. So they're going to need at least 2 to 3 other guys, whether that is Jeff Green, whether that is Bruce Brown, whether that is Luwawu-Cabarrot, whether that is Blake Griffin. A couple of those guys are going to have to get brought back for sure. And that's not taken into account if Spencer Dinwiddie does get brought back. If he does, then that makes things a little bit easier, no doubt. But they don't have to bring back all these guys. Tyler Johnson, I think, is probably most likely to leave out of all of them. Bruce Brown's going to depend on what he gets as far as offers go in restricted free agency. Luwawu-Cabarrot, someone who likes to be quite ball dominant. He might not have that if Dinwiddie comes back, so that might play some factors. But Jeff Green is someone who might be a bit more interested in coming back. Blake Griffin has already expressed some interest in coming back to Brooklyn as well, as he does want to try and win a title. But there definitely has to be some concerns about who is going to be the depth and the bench for Brooklyn this upcoming season. And this was a team that had fairly good depth last season. Their bench was fairly strong, even with the trade for James Harden, even with some injuries to like Spencer Dinwiddie for all of last season. Of course, Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be the biggest piece. He's going to offer or command a lot of money, over and around the 20 to 25 million range. He wants 25. It's probably going to be closer to 20 to 22. At least that's what I would be comfortable giving him. But nonetheless, he's going to get a significant deal somewhere, and that might scare Brooklyn off simply due to the sheer value of luxury tax they're going to have to pay. But enough about this current offseason. We're going to jump forward to the 2022-23 offseason, to where I do have a bit bigger concerns about Brooklyn. The note for the 2022-23 season, the only players that are under contract for Brooklyn currently are Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan, and Alize Johnson. One of which, in Alize Johnson, is not guaranteed. That's it. That is all they have. Now, given they do have a lot of guys they're going to re-sign this year, now those might, again, only be one-year deals, especially on some of these bench guys. And so, this roster is very much in the air as far as what they're going to have a couple of years down the road. Now, I'm not one to think that Harden, Durant, and Kyrie are going to be just walking up and leaving, but if they do have another disappointing season, if maybe they have some disputes within each other, maybe the relationship with Steve Nash doesn't go as planned. I don't think any of those scenarios are likely, but when you have three big stars who have egos together, if you don't start to win, things can boil over. We've seen it time and time again, even when duos or trios have won in the past. Things split up eventually, whether that's a split up in Miami. Not that that wasn't amicable, but still, time was done. You've had duos in the past, like, of course, a Kobe Shaq being the prime example, but there's been many others where things don't go well, or even if they are going well, things can just go wrong. But I think the biggest and most notable concern for Brooklyn moving into the time where, obviously, this is a team that needs to win a title. They made the commitment with Kyrie and Durant in free agency. They traded away pretty much every bit of their future for James Harden as far as players and draft picks go. They need to win a title, but all three of these guys have injury concerns. All three, and significant ones. Now, these guys aren't guys in their mid to late 30s. Now, sure, James Harden's 31 now, Durant's 32. Harden had several injuries last year. Durant is just coming off of a couple of years ago a very significant career-threatening injury and had several injuries again last year. Kyrie, for several years now, has had many injuries and has always had knee concerns. And so I think there has to be significant concern here that these guys just might not be able to stay on the floor. And ultimately, that was the concern and the problem for Brooklyn this year, because if Brooklyn are healthy and fully healthy, with all players available and all players at or near or as close to 100% as you can be in the playoffs probably go a lot differently, especially in the Eastern Conference. And that's just not something that's like, oh, we'll be healthy next year. It's not like here's a Jamal Murray injury, who's a guy who's been consistently on the floor, and as long as his rehab goes well, he'll be back good for Denver this year. This is three guys that are all in the back halves, or at least in the second half of their career, and they've all had injury concerns. They have for several seasons now. Durant, of course, now off of a major one, several last year. Harden, several last year. Kyrie has never always been the most healthy player. And so this has to be a concern for Brooklyn moving forward. Nonetheless, this is still a team that, as long as they can acquire decent depth this summer, should be one of the favorites, again, if not the favorite next season, to be an NBA title winner. But there definitely has to be some concerns within Brooklyn. They may have made this move for Harden and went all in on a title, and they may end up coming empty-handed. But let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about Brooklyn moving forward, and if they are going to be able to win a title with this group. Ultimately, it just depends on health, and that is something that I am concerned about for them. Again, reminder, if you guys do want to tune in for my live stream on the NBA draft, it will be tomorrow night, starting pretty much right as the draft starts at around 8 Eastern. I'll be covering all of the first round. I don't know if I'll stick around for the second round, but I will at least stay live for the first round and all the trades and be there to chat about all of those live with you guys. That being said, if you guys do enjoy, feel free to leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new for more off-season updates, thoughts, and analysis. You guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next one.